Hi, welcome back to the Arcade Repair Tips video series. We're here in Sulphur Springs, Texas at Affordable Electronics to talk to Michael about some monitors. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm good. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing fine. Well, we get a lot of questions about monitors. Probably the number one thing people are always asking us, how do you check for monitors? How do you know mine's giving a double image or we got this? So we want to bring a monitor here today and we want to talk to Michael some more in depth about it. And as you can see, I brought this touchscreen monitor out of a game that we have, and it's got a lot of lines here on the top. Now, if I was to call you, Michael, I was to say, these lines are running all across the top of my screen. Well, what would you say, or if we're just talking on the phone?
Well, I'd ask you which way they were running. A lot of people have a misconception that if they're running horizontally, you have a horizontal problem. That's not so. It's actually in the vertical section, you have a vertical problem. Your vertical's breaking down before it reaches full screen.
How do you say, like, is this a horizontal or a vertical monitor? I know some monitors, like we take them out of a Pac-Man game and put them in a Defender. But it's either one or the other, right? How do you know?
Well, all monitors are the same, it's just how you display the image on it. You look at the anode of the tube where the high voltage goes in, that's going to be the top of every monitor. And that's going to be from the top to the bottom, that's going to be vertical. So if you have a sideways game and you have a vertical problem, the lines are going to run up and down on one of the sides.
Okay, so even though the lines here, I hope you guys can see this real good. This is a very common question we get. Lines across the top of the monitor, even though they're running horizontal, you think this is a vertical problem.
That's correct, it's a vertical problem.
Okay.
If you had a horizontal problem, the lines would run vertical. Because
Okay.
the picture expands from the center, horizontal and vertical.
Okay. Well, that's real interesting to know. I appreciate you explaining that even further. So, we're looking at this, and I see these lines, and I know that all the time we tell people, well, it's probably a capacitor. What makes, let's talk about capacitors for a minute. What do they do, and why do they fail, and what causes? Is there something we can do to prevent them from failing? They just fail?
Some things have cheap capacitors just going to fail no matter what. The main issue in capacitors is heat. The heat causes them to dry up, which they'll break down and fail.
Right. That's one thing we talked about in an earlier video was about fans in a game. And how that, modern day games have a lot of fans, but in old school classic games, probably any of them have fans. And so you have a lot of heat. Plus, we're putting something that normally is open and everything inside of a really hot box.
Correct.
Basically, thick wood, and plus they get dirty, so people should clean their games and get the dust out of them. Dust is like an insulator.
Acts like a big blanket on top of the
Right.
all the components.
I know a lot of people, when they fix an Xbox, will wrap it in a towel or something to get the solder hot. Well, if there's dust in your games, it's not clean, that is essentially kind of what you're doing.
Correct.
And so we think that this is a capacitor issue. We know that there's a few things that it's not. And one thing, we know the flyback is good, of course, because we got picture, right?
Correct.
And then we know that the hot is good. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any picture. There's several things that we can tell that are right. So one of the things I've been trying to encourage everybody is sometimes it's not what take the things you know. In other words, you might not be the best repair guy out there, but you know certain things. Do what you know, and also when we look at this, we know what's right. So, but there's a lot of capacitors back there. Where would we get started?
Well, on a circuit board, you need to first determine where your vertical IC is. It's going to be, if you don't have a schematic or any type of literature on it to figure out where that is, usually you'll follow your yoke leads to the circuit board. Your vertical is going to be a yellow or a green sometime, and your horizontal will be a blue and a red. They vary in colors, but usually that's the rule of thumb. The vertical will usually have a yellow somewhere in the combination. Follow them wires to the circuit board, and they usually go somewhere near the IC. Then that IC will have a location number. I don't see one on here. But they usually have one, and those numbers follow in that circuit. For instance, if it's IC 600, the components that deals with that circuit will be, C6 something. It'll be in the 600s.
Right. That's one thing you taught me before, and I thought was an excellent thing, because you look at the capacitors on the back, you see C401, 407, 408, then you'll see right next to it C800, and I'm thinking, can people who make monitors not count? You know, what's wrong? But that's why, because certain types of things are certain numbered for a reason, right? So that they know if you're in that IC circuit, all the caps, if you're hearing what he's saying, all the caps in the vertical circuit are going to probably have the same number, right?
Correct, that's the IC.
Okay?
The vertical IC.
The vertical IC. So if you can find the vertical IC and you have a vertical problem, in other words, a long time ago when we used to do monitor repairs, we did the shotgun approach. And what we did was we get a cap kit from like Bob Roberts or somebody, and we just repair all the caps. Now, fortunately, that solved a lot of monitor issues, because if you repair all the caps, then, you know, it's going to work. But the problem with that is that's very time consuming, and now that we have, say, 15 monitors to work on, we don't want to be spending an hour per monitor if we can only spend 15 or 20 minutes.
Right.
So if we know we got a vertical problem, we can locate that vertical IC in those caps. We're only going to replace the caps in that area, right?
Correct.
Unless we see another issue or something. Now, if you want to replace them all, you know, sometimes people are like, kind of like buying tires. You got one tire that's flat, you might go replace it, but then you see the other three are looking that way, you might replace them all. Sometimes that's a good approach if you got an older monitor, just to repair them all. But a lot of times it's just a waste of time and money, in my opinion, right?
Well, if you have a problem and it's just one single cap, you can run down to the local Radio Shack or wherever, you know, it's sold, and get that one single cap and fix your problem. You don't have to worry about ordering anything, waiting for it to come in and all that.
Right.
You can get it up and going.
If you send your monitor off for repair, a lot of times, I mean, it's just like us. Somebody sends us, we have to take the time to take it out, to do the cap kit or whatever. We're going to charge for that. They might can fix what we charge the same price a lot of times for 1 or 2 caps as we have for 10 caps, just for the time that it takes to do it. So if you can find that 1 cap or 2 caps and fix that, man, you can save a lot of money.
That's true.
All right, so, well, come on in, cameraman. Let's do a little in-depth, and we'll start seeing where this cap's verticals are.